Good day, everyone. Once again, I am Bernadette Alonso Cundas, Master Teacher 2 from the Division of Quezon. Basically, we have three kinds of scripts. The first one is narrative script. The second one is storyboard. And the last one is the three-column production script. Since we have limited time, we are going to focus more on the narrative script. There are two kinds of treatment in writing the script of an educational video: the narrative lecture and the narrative tutorial. Narrative lecture pertains to the uninterrupted manner of delivering the content. According to Percival and Ellington, 1988, a lecture is a didactic instructional method involving one-way communication from the active presenter to the more or less passive audience. On the other hand, a narrative tutorial is equivalent to interactive video. Moreover, a tutorial can be taken in many forms, ranging from a set of instructions to complete a task to an interactive problem-solving session. In addition to that, one of the main benefits of the tutorial is that it requires active participation from students. One all-time favorite example for this is the Dora the Explorer. Before we finally have the sample of narrative script, let us bear in mind the two main types of its content. The first one is AV instructions or the AV media script directions, and the second one is the spoken line. As stated earlier, in narrative script, we will find AV instructions. For example, dissolve the teacher in normal angle and long shot while image of coronavirus is projected. These are not being delivered by the talent or speaker in the video. Rather, it serves as instructions to the videographer, director, illustrator, animator, and editor of the educational video. Aside from the AV instructions, spoken lines are the second type of content that you will find in a narrative script. This is an example of spoken lines. It is delivered by the talent or speaker in the video. This is now the main course of our discussion today, and that is how to write a narrative script. For those who are involved in campus journalism, specifically the TVB and RB, this is only a review. But since we do have other teachers in other disciplines, I think we really have to discuss the nitty-gritty of writing a narrative script. Earlier, I have shown you already the template, and there you have seen that there should be continued and the word "and" at the bottom part of the page. So let us just have a review of the use of it. So again, whenever we write continued at the bottom part of the page, it only means that there will be pages to follow. However, when we use the "and" or the word "and," it only means that that is the last page of the script. Now let us have a specific example of a narrative script. As you can see on the screen, that is the script that I have written during our training on basic video production conducted last July 2020. So let us have the first part of the script. The first one is the title and the topic. So with this, you have to apply what you have learned in talk number 1, which is about developing or organizing the content. According to the first talk, it's very important to chunk the content. So what do we mean by chunking the content? When we chunk the content, we are actually looking for a specific learning object to discuss, because a complex topic will be difficult for the students to process. So for example, I do have the topic fake news. And when we say fake news, we could pertain to characteristics of a fake news, sources of fake news. But then, here, I decided to focus only on the 5 ways in eyeing fake news. And only 5 ways, because actually, as I research on the different ways on how to avoid fake news, there are lots of steps. What I did is, I chunk the content and just specify the 5 most essential way on how to do it. Because according to Professor Lenny, if you're going to give big chunks of content to the students, that will be a time and effort wasted. Why? It is because the larger the chunk, the more difficult for the students to chew it and to process it. Remember, there is the concept of working memory. And you must always consider the working memory of our students. According to the first discussion, it is like sponge. A sponge, if it is already full, all the contents on it will just drip. And the sponge actually cannot contain the content, just like with the brains of our students. So again, don't forget to chunk the content. Another example, for example, in writing research. There is a learning competency in writing research about sampling technique. So when we say sampling techniques in practical research, we do have 2 most common type of sampling technique. The first one is the probability and non-probability. If we're going to mix the 2 concepts or the 2 subtopics of sampling technique together, so that will be difficult for the students to understand the 2 subcomponents of sampling technique. So it will be better that from the main topic, which is sampling technique, we're going to have episode 1, which is about probability, and episode 2, which is the non-probability. Another example, for writing a concept paper. So just like in research, it is very much important for us to teach how to write literature. And in writing literature, we must teach our students different skills, such as summarizing, paraphrasing, synthesizing, and doing the direct quotation. And aside from that, we must be able to discuss the different ways on how to do in-text citations depending on the number of authors, depending on the kind of authors. Is it an organization or a person? So there are different topics in writing literature, subtopics. So if we're going to have a mind mapping of that, from writing literature, we're going to have different subtopics, maybe 5, maybe 7, maybe 10. So with that main topic, with those subtopics, that will be the episode 1 of our video number 1. Then episode 2, episode 3, episode 4. So now let us move on to the second part, the treatment and the run time. So if you can still remember, in the treatment, we discussed the 2 common types of treatment that we could use in the educational video that we're going to work on. The first one, the narrative lecture. The second one, the narrative tutorial. So you may choose either of the two. But then you have to decide. If you're going to use narrative lecture, there is a possibility that the students will not be that so involved. But if you're going to use the narrative tutorial, there is a possibility that the students will be more participative in the video that you're going to make. And now the instructional objectives. Just like our lesson plan or the DLL, the idea and the likes, a script should contain objectives. And during the asynchronous session, it is specified that just like in writing lesson plan, it should be SMART. After the preliminary parts of the script, we have now the main content of the script. Just like what we discussed earlier, we have two main types of content when it comes to narrative script. The first one is the AV instruction, and the second one is the spoken lines. For my example, as you can see, for the introduction, we have the spoken lines to be delivered by the talent or the speaker of the video. For example, good day everyone. I am Bernadette Alonso Cundes, your teacher for today. And you may call me Teacher Badette. Our today's topic is related to a platform that we consider as an extension of ourselves, and that is Facebook. As you can see in the spoken lines, I have introduced myself first as a teacher in the video, and after that, I indirectly introduce the topic. So I did not just say, our topic today is about fake news. After that, I have another set of spoken lines wherein I've officially introduced the topic, which is the fake news. So you could see there in line 11, however, fake news lurks everywhere. It could be found in the feed, in your friend's timeline, in group chats, or even in private messages. We are actually encountering it every day in different forms and in different language. So there, I have given more information, but not too long, about the topic. So that could be your introduction after the music intro and the OBB and necessary AV instructions. So that would be the first scene of the speaker in the video, to be followed by the second scene, the official introduction of the topic. After the introduction, I have inserted the motivation. So it started with the spoken line of the teacher that says, "Who will forget to meme about VP Leni Robredo?" So sino nga po ba talaga ang makakalimot sa meme na ito? Dahil dun sa meme nakalagay doon na ayon daw po kay Robredo, dapat daw po tayong umubo pabalik para makaiwas na makahawa tayo ng coronavirus just in case that we are infected by the virus. Ang daming galit na netizens. Ang dami kong nakitang nag-share ng meme na ito, believing na ito talaga yung sinabi ni VP Leni Robredo, not knowing that it is actually a fake news. So here, I have chosen this kind of example because many could relate. Many can actually recall that there is a meme about VP Leni Robredo, and somewhat it is also localized kasi actually si Trump naman is a good example na nakapag-share din siya ng fake news. Pwede natin yung gawing example, right? However, I have chosen this kind of example because it is a localized version of fake news that became popular to many. Na-share to ng napakaraming tao at ang daming nagalit dito, right? And then in the end, it is a fake news. So I have continued the motivation with this AV instruction. So from the face of the teacher saying who would forget the meme about VP Lenny Robredo is the AV instruction that it will be solved to meme. So ipapakita yung meme ni Lenny Robredo about inhaling calf back, followed by appropriate illustration of the content as the teacher talks through voice over. So in writing the script, not necessarily na lagi ang teacher ay nakikita sa camera. So if you want to emphasize the content of the script, so pwedeng gamitin natin yung technique na tinatawag nating voice over. Okay, so after the motivation, now in line 13 until line 17, as you can see on the screen, I started giving inputs about the main topic, which is fake news. Allow me to read it to you. According to Asia Reader's Digest 2019, Collins, a dictionary publisher, hailed fake news as the word of the year in 2017. And it was defined as false, sensational information disseminated under the guise of news reporting. Now, the present question is, how can we identify and avoid fake news? I will give you 5 seconds to think about the possible ways on how to do it. Time starts now. So in that particular spoken lines, you can see that I have cited the source. Whenever we use conceptual definition, we should always bear in mind that it is our responsibility as script writers to cite properly the sources. Because when you say sources, we do not only find them at the end part of the script or at the end part of the paper, but we must be able to do that as we write the content of the paper. And when we say authorship, it does not only pertain to people or names of people, but also authors could pertain to organizations, especially when the article or a specific reference does not have a specific people who wrote it. So instead of citing specific names, we will be citing the organization as the author of the claims that we have included in the script. And in addition to that, as you can see at the end part of my script, I really try to involve now my students. I have asked the question, how can we identify and avoid fake news? And I allowed them to think about it by giving them few seconds to do that. After defining the word fake news, that was followed by the 5 ways on how to avoid fake news online, not only in Facebook, but also in other social media platform. So I will not show all the pages that contains the 5 ways because it is quite long and we do have limited time. So after the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth way, now we're going to have the formative assessment. So after the video, I have said, or there is a spoken line that says, those are the 5 possible ways in eyeing or spotting fake news. I hope the given information will help you avoid false story, not only on Facebook, but also in other social media platforms. Let us all together fight misinformation. So after that scene, we're going to have the AV instructions, fade in, normal angle, and medium shot of the teacher. So from that long shot in number 1, in number 5, we're going to have the medium shot of the teacher. So transitions, angles, don't despair. Those will be tackled by the next presenter after me. So I will not delve too much into it because I don't want to preempt his presentation. And after that, in line number 6 to 7, that actually signals that we're going to have the formative assessment. So since this is interactive, or this is a narrative tutorial, not a narrative lecture, so we must be able to do something in the video that will actually involve the students. So there, I have said that. Now let us see if you have learned something in our today's lesson. Are you ready for an activity? I will give you 5 seconds to get a piece of paper and a pen. So if you think that 5 seconds is not enough for the students to prepare things, maybe at the beginning of your video, you will be giving directions and a list of materials that they will be needing during the entire video. Okay, so after the formative assessment, it's time for us to give the abstraction or the generalization of the topic. Make sure that it is short but informative. So this is now the last page of my script. As you can see at the bottom part of the page, there is the word end. So it means that it is the last page of the script. So after the abstraction or the generalization of the lesson, what I did is I have given them a take-home task. So as you can see in line number 1 to 4, so I will not read it anymore. And then after that is crossfade in number 8, and then 9, the outro music, and that will be the end of the video. Thank you so much for listening, and always remember that the script is the blueprint of the video production. That is the very reason why it is being polished in the pre-production phase. Good luck, thank you, and once again, I am Bernadette Alonso Condes. Keep safe, everyone.